Hello and welcome to Copts United TV. This is Mina Habib, and today we are going to talk about a terrorist attack that targeted the Coptic Orthodox Church in Cairo. As Christians around the world were getting ready to celebrate Christmas, the terrorists were getting ready to kill innocent people, mostly women and children. And today we are honored to have Dr. Wasim Al-Sisi, Professor of Urology and Teaching Hospitals, FRCS, England, and researcher in Egyptology. Welcome, sir.
Welcome to you, Mr. Mina.
Thank you very much. How do you find this terrorist attack that targeted innocent people in our church?
It is not the first attack. This is a resultant of many attacks mentally, spiritually on our religion in Egypt. Long time ago. Probably since 1970, since the reign of President Sadat, when he released these terrorists from prisons and gave them the upper hand to change many things in Egypt. The most important is teaching, and how it is religious teaching and not proper teaching or not proper religion, but religion according to their understanding and concepts.
Extremism.
Yes.
Mostly.
And we are trying nowadays to redirect, recorrect what happened in the last 50 years. And all what we see, including assaults on churches, 80 churches in Upper Egypt, the church of in Alexandria in the time of President Mubarak.
The two famous church in Alexandria.
Church of Al-Quddisin.
Yeah.
And recently Butrusiyya Church as well. These are the fruits of wrong teaching and wrong understanding of core of religions.
You mean that these attacks started only during Sadat's regime, or it was
Yes.
far before that?
No. As I say, figures are the best language. Since 1919 till 1972 or 71, which nearly 50 years, two aggressions, two assaults on Christians occurred. One of them in Ismailia and the other one in Khanka. The next 50 years, from 1971 till 2016, 400 assaults. Mm-hmm. Just compare between two.
No comparison.
In the first 50 years, from 1919 till 1971, and the next 50 years. So we have to read the situation. What happened? As a matter of fact, in 1971 or 72, Mr. Gamal El-Atifi, he was an MP, Member of Parliament,
Yeah.
and after the assault of Khanka, he did a very good research, the causes and the motives and all what he did now in the desks. Mm-hmm. Nobody looks at it. Look at it, mm-hmm. and you will know. So, no will, no desire to understand why this happens and how we can face it. Probably recently, in the last 2 years, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is trying very hard to redirect the understanding and filter what is in books for the students. But I'm sorry, it is in vain. Because there is no desire to change.
So what was the main point that Latifi found that behind our catastrophe?
The main point is that the sovereignty of law is absent. And this is absolutely right. If just one accident and the law punish the criminal, I assure you this will disappear immediately. Mm-hmm. I remember Muhammad Ali Bashir in the very beginning. One of the Muslims killed a Greek person. Immediately, within 1 week, he ordered that this Muslim should be condemned in a very big square in Alexandria, and if anyone protests against this, will be beside him. Mm-hmm. He was a statesman, and statesman should have an arm of iron. Muhammad Ali Pasha, within 24 hours, he vanished the Mamalik, 500 in the castle of Kala. And that's why he could build Egypt.
But this actually contradicts with the many books of the Muslim extremist imams like Ibn Taymiyyah and others. So don't you think that this was...
Well, it depends on the thinker. I can interpret what's written in the books of Ibn Taymiyyah. This was for a certain time with certain people, this time now in the past, and these people are not with us nowadays.
We are talking here about the renewal of religious discourse, right?
Pardon?
You are talking now about the renewal of religious discourse.
Yes.
الخطاب الديني.
I mean, if we can translate, even the verses of Quran itself, that this was in a certain time, for certain people, in a certain situation, for certain reason or reasons, the story is different.
Like Jews.
For example, there is a verse which says, من لم يحكم بما أنزل الله فيه أولئك هم الكافرون. There is a school which interprets this in a way that all rulers and governors, Arab rulers and governors, should rule with the Quran.
Yeah.
But there is another school which is called Binazul al-Sabab. The reason for this verse, that these words were for the Jews when they asking Prophet Muhammad about a topic or a problem, and he told them, you can go to your book, the Old Testament, and if no ruling with your book, this means that you are atheist, for example.
So each religion.
So very important that you interpret what is written in its circumstances. This will resolve and solve many of the problems from which we are suffering nowadays.
Okay. There is another point of view that claim that what's happening now in Egypt and in the Middle East in general is because of a conspiracy of the West.
Yes, that's right. It's absolutely
you support
right.
that?
Yes.
How?
This conspiracy of the West started since the 16th of May 1960. This was in the First World War. And two representatives One of them is Georges Bicot from France, and the other one is Mark Sykes. He was a diplomat from England. Both of them together, they looked at the area of, it was called Ard al-Sham. Ard al-Sham was including Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, as one state. And they divided this area into independent countries.
States.
Jordan by itself, Syria by itself, Iraq by itself, Lebanon by itself, so on. In 1916 as well, the chief man for the Jews was Chaim Weizmann. He was a great chemist. And he is the one who could obtain, who is the promise of Balfour.
Yeah.
Balfour.
Yeah.
Yes, he was first the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and then he gave this promise when he became the Prime Minister of England.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I know that he gave him the secret of acetylene and oxygen flame, to cut the iron and mend iron and so on. But there was other things. Anyway, they started from that time, especially after 1919. The revolution of Saad Basha Zaghloul.
1919.
And how the Egyptians were against the British. Go out from our countries. الاستقلال التام أو الموت الزؤام.
Independence or
complete,
death.
yes, and so on. And so England, who divided India before into Pakistan and India now, and its principle, divide rule. So England knew that the only thing to conquer Egypt is to divide it between Muslims and Christians.
Okay.
And so in 1982, they brought Hassan al-Banna. And they gave him 500 pounds, which means 5 millions nowadays. This was in 1928. And personally, I asked his brother, Mr. Gamal al-Banna, I asked him, is it true that your brother received from the British Suez Canal Company 500 pounds? He said yes. And the family, he told me, I was young, but I knew that the family blamed him.
That he told
And
you.
what was his answer? I asked him. He said his answer was, this is our money and we regained it again.
Okay, this is halal. Okay.
He was very clever.
He should be.
Yes. So this was the very beginning. And we are reaping the bitter fruits nowadays. Not only us, but the whole world, including England, including the United States. The State of Israel was erected in 1948. In 1954, 55, 56, in this area, in this era, Ben-Gurion was the Prime Minister. Moshe Sharet was the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Moshe Sharet told Ben-Gurion, we are just a drop among a sea of hatred. Even our atomic bombs is useless, because if we use the one of them,
Will be affected.
Israel will suffer.
Yeah.
Because the radiation will come to us. So we can't use this nuclear weapon. But so as Israel can have the upper hand over the Arab countries, we can't. But we can create hatred, fanaticism among them. And he gave examples. Look, for example, Iraq, there are Shia and Sunni. They can fight each other to death. Look at Syria, Shia, Sunni, Kurds, Alawiyin, and so on. Egypt, Christians and Muslims. And they started doing that through their cat's paw Muslim brothers. Division, creation. When Nasser came in 1952, Egypt had 8 Azhar schools. Now we have more than 2,000 teaching their children how to hate and to kill Christians, not to salute them, but how to attack them. And this is the hope, the dream, which has been verified of Israel.
So you believe that all what we have of extremism and hatred in Egypt and in the region is originally a Zionist conspiracy?
Any disease, an attack from outside, and the immune system from inside. The attack from outside, Zionism, Muslim Brothers, Ben Gurion and the Moshe Sharet plans or plots. But our immune system was very good till 1960. After that, and because of the policy of Nasser and afterwards Sadat and afterwards Mubarak, who was doing nothing, that's why these are the fruits. So the immune system inside has been weakened, nearly like AIDS. No response, no defense, no counterattack. The most terrible thing is what happened in 1982. A British man called Bernard Lewis, Zionist, American nationality, though was born in England, and he was born in 1960, the same year of Sykes-Picot. In 1981, he offered a plan to divide the divided countries, to disintegrate the countries in this area. And anyone can return back to the net and he will find the maps of Bernard Lewis, which has been studied by Brzezinski. Brzezinski is a consultant to President Carter. Okay. And after studying this plan for 1 year, the Congress approved it totally, in whole. Not a single one refused it. And they considered it a plan, strategic one, for the future, and the sequent governates has to apply it into real. Look at Sudan, for example. They divided Sudan into 3 countries. South Sudan, the capital is Juba. Middle of Sudan is Sunni, and its capital Khartoum. The north of Sudan, Nuba country, but not all Nuba. The Nubian country, it's a third in Sudan, it's 2/3 in Egypt, and the capital is Aswan.
Okay.
So my border is till Asyut only, and this was going to happen. And so they approved it. Bernard Lewis, who died probably in 2006, like that. Yeah. So as you see, the conspiracy of the West, England and the United States, is working till now. They succeeded in Iraq, in Libya, in Yemen, in Syria, and they were going to succeed in Egypt, according to the memories of Hillary Clinton recently. She said, we were about to take Egypt and divide it into and so on, so on, so. And the unholy agreement between United States and Muslim brothers as well, to divide Egypt, Christian country north of Delta, and its capital Alexandria, from the south of Delta till Asyut, Muslim country, Sunni, and its capital is Cairo. And from Asyut till the north of Sudan is Nuba country, and its capital is Aswan. The east of Delta and Sinai for Israel. So it will be from the River Nile till Furat.
Okay, as they wish.
As they wish. This was going to happen because the idea of Bernard Lewis cut the extremities and then attack the heart. And already they cut the extremity. Sinai, Daesh, they were there by thousands. The prisoners whom Morsi released them in Sinai. And this was prepared to be the free army, like the free army of Syria, which is attacking the army of the state, Jaish Syria al-Hur.
Starting like to be like a cancer that's eating inside the country.
Because they destroyed everything nearly in Egypt, even the Ministry of Interior. The only thing which was remain is the army. And this was prepared for the army. And the United States supplied them and Morsi and so on. So they cut Sinai and then attacked the army and cut Halayb al-Shalatin. And then afterwards, Israel will be in here. So as you see, it is really a conspiracy. And anyone who doesn't believe in what I say, I ask him, I beg him or her to read 2 great books by Robert Dreyfuss. He's an American free man, Robert Dreyfuss. The first book was Hostages to Khomeini, and the second, how United States brought Khomeini to rule. And the second book, a few years ago, The Devil's Game. This is a game of the United States, how they are supporting and enforcing the Muslim brothers and their derivatives, like Daesh, like Taliban, like all these are, the Muslim brothers are the mother of all these terrorists.
So if we agree that this is a story and this is a scenario, how can Egypt face it and prevent it from succeeding another time?
The first thing is the law. and the law, and this is what
عاطفي.
what said Gunnar Myrdal. He is a Swedish thinker, and he has a book called The Asian Drama. And in this Asian drama, there is a chapter called The Soft States. And he says that I wanted to know the only one thing which is common among these soft states. Soft states are the states which we call them the states which failed, دول الفشلة. He said the only thing is absence of law. And he said this absence is manifested in three things. The number of cases compared to number of population is very great. As a matter of fact, we have more than 25 million cases in the courts. The second thing is the delayness in giving the verdict. You know. The third thing is the inability of the state to put what the courts reached into action.
You're talking here about the customary reconciliation sessions, الجلسات العرفية. Right?
This is shame in the face of any country that the law is absent and this congregation of some people from different families, and usually they come against the weak half, the weak person, the Christians,
course,
I mean.
yeah.
And sometimes they ask them to leave their homes. This is shame.
No.
Yeah, just imagine when a governor, Christian governor, and the people refused him the country. Yes. Okay. Surrendered, submitted. What a shame. Even a Christian head mistress in a primary school, the small pupils refused the state.
They learned from what happened to the governor, so they knew they can prevent.
Just children.
Yeah.
Just students, and they had the upper hand over the state. What kind of state?
Isn't that democracy?
This is not democracy. This is shame. Democracy has nails and canines by law.
And they refused them just because of their religion.
Just for being Christians.
Even,
that's all.
Yeah.
That's all. Oh, yes. What a shame. So, number one, the law. This is the first thing to start with. Firm hand, iron hand for those outside the law. Second thing is teaching. How to teach those children, or in the very beginning. This is shame just in the class of religion, the Christians outside the class and the Muslims stay. In the very beginning, the Muslim child begins to think that he is better, he's staying in his place, and a minority or Christians are outside. And not in another place, in another class, to teach their Christian religion, for example. And that's why many years ago, I suggested for the Minister of Teaching to make a lesson of values. And all pupils, all students, whether they are Muslims or Christians, and the first lesson, for example, mercy. How mercy is present in Christianity and Judaism and Islam. And I started to give examples. Jesus Christ said so and so about mercy, for example. And what Moses said about mercy, what the Prophet Muhammad said about mercy. So the student comes out knowing that these great values are in all religions. And he doesn't discard other religions. He starts to respect those who are having another religion. And so the country becomes stronger. Very important thing of this discrimination between Muslims and Christians. When you discriminate between a Muslim and Christian, you will discriminate between a Muslim whose father is a great man and a Muslim who has an ordinary father.
The concept of discrimination is valid.
Concept of
is accepted.
discrimination. You destroyed the law of ethics, which is marked in ancient Egyptian teaching that all people are the same in front of law. And this is one of the cancerous things in our country, discrimination. And they don't know when they discriminate between two because of religion, they will discriminate between also two because of the rank, high rank, low rank, minister, very unordinary man, and so on, rich man, poor man, and so on. No. We have to be with all people the same, and the better is that one he is more or she is more efficient.
Okay.
By this, countries can proceed and progress.
Great. As you know that most of our viewers are living in outside Egypt and in the diaspora in Europe and America and other countries. We were talking about a conspiracy of the West, where they stay. So at the end of this episode, what's your advice for those people who love Egypt, belong to Egypt, and are staying in the West?
I remember a Greek poet when Greece conquered Sparta. He said, we conquered them, not because we invaded them, but because we made them forget their history and their civilization. The true defeat is that we forget our history, and we have the greatest history. I don't know there is a history called Americanology or Britishology or Francology, only Egyptology. So you Egyptians have to read your great history, and you know that when Americans and British Anglo-Saxons, whatever, in the caves, we were doing trephine operation, cataract operation. One of my friends was he's an Egyptian with an American citizenship. He told me just 2 weeks ago, he was in the United States, asked for cataract operation. He was on the couch, ready for the operation. The ophthalmology surgeon came into the rooms with sterilized hands. Before the anesthetist giving him the anesthesia, the surgeon asked him, who is the first one who did cataract operation? My friend is Dr. Yusuf. He's a pharmacist, his father is a pharmacist, and his grandfather is a pharmacist.
Okay.
And then Dr. Joseph said, really, I don't know. And the surgeon told him, your grandfather.
Yeah,
he said, my grandfather is a pharmacist. He said, no, your grandfather, 4,000 years ago. No. These great people did cataract operation. our Egyptians in abroad, they have to know that. They have to see Trafine operation in the British Museum, in that glass box which is there. They have to know that we Egyptians, the first who knew Bilharzizes and called it Ta, and the worm and called it Harart, and the antimony which the West used it, we knew it, and we put it in suppositories, rectal suppositories, and treated people with it. They have to know that Kemet is one of the names of our country, which means the Black Land. And chemistry is coming from this word, the black science. So chemistry, even itself, is coming from Kemet. They have to know their history so as to be proud. This is the first one. Second is to read the other side of the coin. I beg you to read Robert Dreyfus, Hostage to Khomeini, and The Devil's Game.
And we should make other episodes about the history of Egypt and Egyptology.
Yes,
I hope
yes.
we will be able to do that.
Yes, one of my favorite subjects.
Of course. And I want to thank you very much. It was a
thank
very
you.
interesting episode, actually. I enjoyed you very much. And thank you very much for viewing this episode today. I want to thank Dr. Wasim Al-Sisi, Professor of Urology, teaching hospitals, FRCS England, and researcher in Egyptology. And until we meet again, thank you very much.